thank you once again for joining. I'm very excited about this workshop, and I think it's a very exciting topic. I think it's a very, excuse the pun, but a very hot topic. So, but I think we're going to learn a lot today, and I hope that you guys are going to have a lot of questions. And we also want to invite you to, throughout the workshop, please contribute, ask your questions, and yeah, it's only going to contribute to the value of the workshop. So, without further ado, just before I forget, just to start off with, in the link, in the chat, you guys will find a link. And this, in this, sorry, Vessel, your hand's raised.
No, sorry, Jared, just before
okay.
you start, it's the same.
Cool. Okay. So in the chat, you guys will find a link that Annalyn posted. Please complete the register. This is just the attendance register that we want you guys to attend to, please, and complete. Sorry, guys, if we can just ask you just to mute your mics. Thank you. So please click on the link, complete the register, and also note that Annalyn have assisted us with registering this workshop for 3 hours of CPD points. So you guys will each receive a certificate, and you can use those certificates then to submit for your CPD points. So thank you very much for that. That's a huge contribution to the workshops. Right. So if there are any questions regarding that, please put that in the chat, and we can then attend to it from there. Right. Just to introduce our speakers today. So first of all, Lieb and Ben and Marius, thank you very, very much for taking the time and preparing these workshops for us. I know there's a lot of work that went to it, a lot of thought that went to it. What do we discuss? How do we actually give information through that's going to contribute to everybody? So I'd like to introduce everyone. So first of all, Lieb, or Liebrecht Swanepoel, that's his full name, although he is known as Lieb, or Swanepoel as well. He's from LDS Consulting, so they specialize in fire protection compliance. Lieb is a qualified fire engineer. He also has 37 years of experience in total, which 19 of those years were within the fire department, and then 18 years in the private consulting sector. So Lieb, thank you very much, and very warm welcome to you. So Lieb will also be our first speaker, and then thereafter Ben and Marius will continue. So getting to Ben and Marius from SHEQ. Ben, Marius, very, very warm welcome to you as well. So just a bit of background. Ben has been in the industry for about 10 years, in the fire prevention industry, and SHEQ then also focuses on firefighter training, the supply and servicing of firefighting equipment, and then they also specialize in fire detection. And this is where Marius comes in. So Marius has about 14 years of experience, so a wealth of experience, and especially focusing and specializing in smoke detection and gas suppression. So thank you very much, guys. Much appreciate the efforts that went into preparing this. And yeah, then without further ado, Lieb, I think we can start with you. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Gerard, for the nice introduction and everything that goes along with it. Yeah, I'm an Afrikaans-speaking boertjie, so I'll use my boerie English. And as the words is getting less and less and less, and I'll probably try to explain in Afrikaans, but we'll obviously get back to English again. But again, thanks for the opportunity, and yeah, I hope it's interesting. So yes, to start with, as Gerard noticed, there's my qualifications and experience coming out of the fire department, doing in my life that other people definitely doesn't wanted to do, like in short, by rescuing people out of motor vehicle accidents, out of burning buildings, doing this, doing that, checking on regulations. So yeah, that's my life, and I'll always be, even if I'm qualified as a fire practitioner or a fire engineer or a fire consultant, I'll always be a fireman. From Pretoria Fire Department in the olden days, now Swane Emergency Services. So yeah, the long and the short is that's my fire protection background. With relating to LDS fire consulting, then obviously it will be myself as head of the company, whereby I've got Johan Nel, which is my 2IC, and my right hand, where I cannot be part of, with his 15-year experience, with his qualifications of IFE fire engineers, with his level 1 and 2. And Johan is just as capable as any other fire engineer. So yeah, that's a little bit of LDS. But obviously
Sorry, Lieb, just on that, sorry, my apologies, I forgot to mention Johan. So Johan works with you, but unfortunately Johan had to attend to another matter this morning, and he had to excuse himself on number 99. So my apologies for not mentioning that as well.
No, that's fine, don't worry. Okay, so what is fire protection? I mean, everybody knows fire protection, everybody wants to discuss fire, and everybody has got their own view on fire. So, I mean, the short of everything is it's a study of fire. Sorry, just before I carry on, can everybody see the screen properly before we carry on? Gerard,
Yes,
are you
yes,
happy with that?
Lieb. Yeah, we can. Just raise of hands or just a thumbs up. Can everybody see the screen? Sorry.
Okay, yeah, so that's confirmation then. Thanks very much. Okay, what is fire protection? That's a study of fire. I mean, you can't do any fire protection, you can't do any fire design if you don't know what fire is. So yeah, there's a small little definition of what study of fire is. Certain parts that we're looking of certain design aspects is active fire protection as well as passive fire protection. Yeah, we'll go into detail, not detail, but we'll go into a more descriptive part of this with the slides upcoming. Obviously, then we need to have a look at some legislation and what we do and where we're doing what we're doing and where we get it from. If we refer to the Fire Acts, you've got the Fire Brigade Act, you've got your Occupational Health and Safety Act, and you get the National Building Regulations. That's the basic, the three components of where we are obtaining all our information from, and obviously each and every fire design coming out of our office will comply to those legislation as contemplated in the laws.
Sorry, Lieb, just before you continue, I just see Alida's hands up or raised. Alida, is that just with confirming that you guys can see the screen, or do you have a question? Okay, no, it seems like we can continue. Thanks, Lieb. Sorry for that.
Sorry, Gerard. The cover page is visible, but as we go along, the slides don't roll.
Okay.
Is it?
Lieb, I think if maybe just go out of this just out of this sharing this way, and then I almost want to say just share normally. So if you just escape there, I think what's happening is that the when you share via Teams, then you have a delay in the processing the data. So maybe just reshare, and then when you reshare, I'm just going to help you there. Can
Is it
everybody
now
see
ro-
the screen?
Is it now rolling?
The vet?
Yes, thank you, Chair. It's rolling. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Eh,
All right.
I'm,
Sorry for
I'm
that.
certainly gonna die of a heart attack today with regards to this equipment and
Technology.
everything.
That's
But yeah,
always love.
thanks.
No,
Thanks for that.
Lib, we can see your screen, so you can continue. Thanks.
Okay, so basically that was the acts that we are working from, and that's the acts what or the information where we're getting it from. Furthermore, then we'll go to the applicable legislation, which is the day-to-day documentation and the day-to-day information what we are working from out of the national building regulations, which we refers to the SANS code, SANS 10400 Part A, M, S, T, V, and W, as mentioned on the screen. Obviously, the main screen or the main information would come out of Part T, which is fire protection, and that relates to regulations and information out of 59 sub-regulations which we need to adhere to, which in short is, for instance, automatic sprinkler installations, fire detection, smoke control, and many more to note. So yeah, in short, this is what we're looking at, and this is where we're getting our information from. Furthermore, international standards, we normally refer to your British standards and NFPA code of practice. British standards coming from the clever British people, and NFPA from obviously from America, and with their designs, which is much more in depth than the South African code. But nevertheless, the fire departments and the emergency services in South Africa does recognize these two standards as well. So should we need to use a rational design, we are entitled to use some of the regulations being standardized and noted in these two codes of practice. And then lastly, but not least, each and every different local authority has got their own bylaws. And the bad about the bylaws is that each and every municipality, each and every local authority differs from the previous one that you are using. So the long and the short is should we make use of it, you just need to be competent, and you need to know what's being written where and what to apply to based on these legislation and bylaws that they provide you with. Okay, so now that's basically the long and the short with regards to legislation and where we're getting our information, as said previously. Yeah, I should have mentioned that previously. Is there a possibility if you want to ask questions, then please raise and we can address this. So then on completion of all the legislation and acts, is there any questions to be answered on this section for now? Can we carry on?
Maybe just a practical question from my side. When we look at the SANS codes and fire protection designs, would it be necessary for us as SHEQ practitioners to actually go out and buy each of these SANS standards? Because obviously, buying all these SANS standards is quite expensive. Or do we rely? Is that why we would appoint a fire engineer and consultant to assist us with complying with these SANS standards, so that we don't have to necessarily purchase them?
Gerard, yeah, there's basically two answers on that question. Yes, you as the client, or you as the person that requires the information is more than willing to purchase it. But as you said, if you guys appoint LDS Fire Consulting as your fire engineer, then all the info that we are using in our documentation and all the legislation that we propose to you to be submitted and approved at the local authority would be available to provide it to you in any case. So you can buy it yourself, or you can rely on the fire engineer providing the information to you.
Okay. I see there is a question, Mr. Duplessis. I think you can, if you have
Yes,
a question.
Gerard, I think just to add to that is that in terms of from the insurance industry, a professional rational design or fire plan needs to be set up by a qualified person. And I think, you know, a client won't be qualified to do all of that and comply. So I think it's important that especially in the broker space and with the FBAs and so on, to have the information of the relevant people that can assist them professionally qualified to actually set up their fire plan and also a rational design in terms of the legislation, because that is not an easy task for a person who doesn't understand the SANS Code of Conduct to do that specifically.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that's correct. And we'll later on get to the competent person required to do what we do. But yeah, that's correct as stated.
Liep, I think we can carry on. It doesn't seem like there are any other questions or contributions.
Okay. Well, that's basically the next stage of discussions as well. So the basic principles of fire safety. There's two documents and there's two designs and there's two ways to address any fire design. So the long and the short is, if you've got a building which we don't deviate from any of the fire regulations as contemplated and proposed in the codes of practice, what we normally speak of is your deemed to satisfy rules. So that's a document. If the rules and the fire code requires a LAPA being erected in a certain position, then, and it's not being done like that, then we can't treat it as deemed to satisfy. Based on that, we then refer to a rational fire design, which we do a special motivation and we reason about certain, in this case, let's keep the LAPA as an example. We'll refer to safety distances and we'll refer to the protection of the roof coverage, and we'll refer to the protection of the grass, for instance. So anything deviating from what the deemed to satisfy rules requires will be a rational design. Further to this discussion, I think we just need to get the terminology correct by referring, listen, we don't have to do a fire design or a rational fire design all the time. We can just submit a normal document which will reserve in my terminology, and that's the terminology I use. Each and every fire consultant or engineer or practitioner has got different terminology. But my documents would normally say a fire engineering design report, which is the same as a deemed to satisfy. But when it changes to a rational fire design, it clearly shows rational fire design, and in our documentation it would say a rational fire design referring to the following points. So just that's the basic the difference between a rational and a fire design, just to get everybody on the same page. But now, obviously, what do you design? Fire protection designs consists out of certain information. There's five items that we need to adhere to, and this is the 5 items on your screen currently. Firstly, yeah, I'm a believer of ensure life safety of occupants. I know there's different views in the industry by protecting property firstly and then ensure life. But yeah, nevertheless, that's a different opinion of different people. So yeah, what we need to adhere to is life safety, spread of fire, spread of smoke, and then we need to make sure that the building is fire rated stability and compliant to what the code requires. And then obviously the building needs to be equipped with the normal fire systems, fire detection, for instance, fire extinguishing equipment, and everything that goes along with it. Also contemplated in the code of practice under the section A of your National Building Code, SANS 10400. But what is a fire really? what fire protection design measures do we look at? Any fire needs 3 components. Each and every fire needs oxygen, heat, and fuel. Now, the goal that we strive is to omit one of those 3 components. So if there's no oxygen, a fire won't take place. The same with heat and the same with fuel. So by omitting one of these 3 legs of your fire triangle, that's what we are aiming for, and that's what we are trying to achieve in order not to lose a building or to lose any property or to have any issues regarding loss of life or loss of property, as said. Based on your fire design measures, you can relate any fire design to passive fire protection and active fire protection. Basically, passive fire protection is passive units. That's your firewalls, your fire doors, fire stopping, everything that's being built that is standing or lying there, and you just need to maintain it, and furthermore, you leave it as is. Active fire protection means your fire protection systems, like for instance, sprinklers, fire detection systems, smoke control. That's systems that are being installed inside in the building, and that needs to be maintained and tested on a regular basis and to be kept in place. Just a larger screen of what I've discussed now. So yeah, that's basically one system is what you've installed and you leave it out, and the other system is you've installed it and you need to adhere to the regulations. Yeah, some of our slides will be addressed by Ben and Marius as well. Each and every building needs to be equipped with firefighting equipment. Basically, fire hydrants, fire hose rules, fire extinguishers, as per the regulation, as per the requirements as stated. But my colleague Ben would further elaborate on that. Again, just a little slide of fire hose rules and the area of what we need to do and when to install it and everything. Based on your classification using firefighting equipment, you've got different classes of fire. Gerard, I'll circulate this slide again. I see it's a little bit small. I don't think it's going to be properly visible to everybody. But that's only to indicate the type of fires and the type of extinguishing methods and the classes of fire. So apologies for this. I'll resend it.
We can see it quite clearly, Lib. I think maybe if you can just go through that with us. I think it's a very interesting aspect that's going to relate to Ben Them's presentation as well.
Okay, well, the long and the short, your class, I can't. That's why I'm saying I'm terribly sorry about this. I can't even read it properly on my screen. So, but obviously you get class A, class B, class C, D fires, which relates to paper and wood. It relates to plastics. It relates to adhesives, flammable liquids, alcohols, and everything that goes along with it. So it's basically, if you read through the column and if you compare with what the equipment you need to use, then this table is self-explanatory. But yeah, certain classes will be, or certain equipment will be applied to the certain class of fire. So therefore, and a simple example would be a DCP, dry chemical powder, fire extinguisher would be used in offices, whereby the main occupancy of the offices and the main fire load would be wood and paper, for instance. Whereby if we go with an electrical fire system, we'll use the CO2 fire extinguishing method of cooling down your fire, and that would normally be used with electrical fires. So yeah, that's basically what it is. And yeah, again, apologies for this mishap on the screen, on this screenshot. Again, then if we go into fire detection measures on systems, and furthermore we relate to gas suppression systems, which Ben and Marius will elaborate on. A little bit of information regarding it, what we're looking at. So yeah, then you'll address this and you'll carry on with that. The same with smoke ventilation systems. Each and every building exceeding 500 squares will have to be equipped with a sort of smoke ventilation system. Now, to be blunt and to be honest with everybody, we're getting the same question and the same scenario on a daily basis. Everybody refers to smoke ventilation in a building, and then they refer to your whirlybird installation, which is not a recognized fire smoke control system. Your whirlybird system refers to normal day-to-day air vents, normal day-to-day air movement, and normal day-to-day cooling systems. Your natural or mechanical smoke ventilation systems refers to, and that is systems that's fire compliant. It's being addressed, it's being tested, and it's being certified. And the long and the short is, as you can see on the picture, it's your normal ugly roof vents that everybody knows about it. With fusible link or pneumatic systems, or as we normally do it, we interface it with your other fire protection systems. But yeah, to get back to the ventilation, based on natural ventilation, and the same with mechanical extraction. Mechanical extraction, obviously, as the word says, mechanical to be extract, that would be by fire-rated fans installed in your building based on what you require, and obviously based on budget requirements as well. Furthermore, in each and every building, we are designing to smoke baffles, and we are designing to smoke compartments and smoke zones. Each and every smoke zone does not exceed 2,500 squares. Therefore, you'll see on this image, you'll have a static smoke baffle, which creates a barrier for us in order to compartmentalize or to cover or to compartment all the smoke in the highest level of each building. So you'll see in the image on the right bottom, you'll see those plastic barriers. That's normally installed in shopping malls. Again, it's to compartmentalize your smoke movement, and based on that smoke movement compartmentalized area, you'll have either your vents or your smoke zones and your smoke fans in order to ventilate and to keep area clear for what it's being noted in the code. And then obviously a smoke designs is just not a smoke design. It's being done, and it refers to smoke calculations, which is an Excel spreadsheet which we've conducted and which we've created. And the long and the short in the image that you see there is basically you need to adhere to a 2.5 meter smoke layer. You need to adhere to your air movement and your clear layer and everything, but in order to discuss that would be a separate discussion with regards to the type of fire you've got, plumes, the fire, the forming of the plume of your smoke, type of fire, the kilowatt fire, and everything that goes along with it. So that's an in-depth discussion for another day. If we carry on with normal fire protection, and by referring to escape routes and staircases and the disability of people, and as I said, safe evacuation and escape, your escape routes normally can be rationalized based on the year of the building being erected in. Obviously, my first question to each and every client is, listen, have we got previously designs being signed off or a previously issued fire clearance certificate? And that determines the width of your fire escape staircases. The latest regulation requires that each and every staircase will not be less than 1.5 meters in width. But yeah, as I said, and then we get back to the terminology, should we need to do a design on a new building which is being revamped, but the building is equipped with escape routes 1.1 meters in width, which is compliant to the old regulations, a rational fire design will be done, and the rational fire design would be issued to the local authority for approval based on a competent person's motivation and design features as proposed to them for approval. Again, safe escape, safe evacuation. Each and every fire escape door is being equipped with certain ironmongery, certain lock sets, certain mechanisms to exit. And yeah, the red box, as we all know, is not acceptable anymore. It's not acceptable by the fire department or by the local authorities. It's contemplated in the code of practice that no acceptable locks, key boxes will be accepted in future. So yeah, that's as I said, that's another daily issue, a daily matter for discussion. So yeah, your normal safe ironmongery would be push bars, thumb turns, access control override units like your break glass units in order to escape through your escape doors as proposed on the drawings and as being built and installed in your building.
Sorry, Lieb, just quickly on that. I think this possibly has got a impact on quite a few operations, and I think just a question from my side. So why would they change the regulations in that instance? What's the logic behind it?
Gerard, coming from a fire department, ex-fire department life, ex-fireman life, and that was the issue that I encountered as an operational officer and as well as an operational fireman. In order to escape safe, you must remember your building is pitch black. There's no power, there's no lights. It's smoke filled, it's smoke clogged. So what? You can literally see nothing inside that building. Now you're reaching your escape door. Now you need to, and I now refer to the red key box. Now you need to, in that dark, you need to open the key box. You are scared. You need to get out. You can't breathe properly. Now you need to get hold of that key. Eventually you do get hold of the key. Now you want to put the key into the lock, opening the door. Now the key doesn't fit because security in any building, security in South Africa makes us using security and safety above fire compliance. And it's nothing against anybody or anyone, but that's the reality and that's what happened. And based on that, or for another example is the key is, you lost the key, it falls out of your hand. Now you need to search for it. So in order to get to escape safely out of the building, this is all things that hampers your escape. In the meantime, you've got 20 people behind you that's pushing and shoving and everything. You can't get out of the building. And that's the main reason for applying push bars, thumb turns, red lamp bolts, access control overrides, and everything as mentioned.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you, Lee.
So that's the main reason, and that main reason actually came from the fire department, and yeah, it was implemented in the code of practice. All right, we've spoken a lot about buildings and how strong your building needs to be and what you need to look at. The fire rating of structural elements is determined by 3 properties. Now that relates to fire doors as well as your building. Your building needs to be equipped with a stability system. It needs to be integrity correct, and it needs to be insulation correct. So that's the three compartments that each and every fire door or each and every fire compartment, fire rated separating element needs to adhere to. So that's basically what the building needs to be strong in a way, and it needs to be usable as stated with these 3 structural elements. If we now look at the next slide, we refer to fire doors as discussed, and obviously you do get your different types of fire doors. Depending on your structural stability of the building, there's no reason for installing a Class B fire door, which gives you 120-minute stability in a building that's only ground floor with no additional debasements or levels above. So based on what your stability of your fire doors is, we normally install that method and that requirement based on the design criteria of the building itself. Unless your building is being constructed with, like for instance, a warehouse with a flammable liquid inside your warehouse, then there's certain elements that we look at, and that probably will go then with a class D fire door, D for Delta, whereby you'll see there's 120 minutes spec on everything, but that's related on what we store and how much we store and what the requirement from the fire department is, and the safety of the building and the safety of the equipment and the safe escape of the occupants inside your building. So relating to your fire doors, this is the different ratings that you get, and this is a different type of fire doors that we normally use in the industry and what we install in order to keep your building safe. We can discuss the same reasons for that we're discussing it now on fire doors. We can use the same method on fire walls. There's no reason to install a fire door of 120 minutes, but your wall only provides you with a 60-minute fire rating. Again, your fire walls, 120 minutes, 60 minutes, 30 minutes, is dependent on what you need to protect, how long you need to protect it, and obviously the design and the area in which the building it occurs. So therefore, you'll have a firewall consisting of 120 minutes fire rating as well as a 60 minutes. And this is basically the structure that we are using on our 120 minutes. On the 60 minutes, you'll have only 2 plies of your fire rated drywall instead of 4 layers as indicated on the 120 minutes. Just for interest's sake, on a drywall, a firewall consisting out of drywall installation, your drywalls are constructed out of your pink fire rated walling. Now, a problem, and it's only to take note of it, because it is problematic and it does happen in the industry. Each and every contractor, some knows about it, some doesn't know about it, are utilizing or using your normal ceiling board, which is your white gray board. Now that obviously that board doesn't give you any fire rating at all. Then they use, as said, they use the pink board to install the panel, giving you a fire rating as required in the code of practice. But the code of practice has allowed that board to be installed vertically. So any installation, and this is the point I want to, this is the point I want to make, and the client, the contractors, everybody is using your fire rated wall, which needs to be installed vertically. They use it in certain circumstances horizontally, stating that we will have a fire rating on that panel as installed, which is not the case, which is not approved, to be installed horizontally. It's only installed and SABS approved and signed off with installation vertically as discussed. So just make a note of it. There isn't a fire rated ceiling consisting out of a normal pink drywall fire rated panel or a board as installed. We can discuss that privately for person to person. So should anybody wants to give me a call based on that, you're more than welcome. Okay, some other construction elements related to fire rating. We've discussed now fire doors, we've discussed fire walls, but obviously exposed steel in a building also needs to be protected. Steel without protection doesn't give you any fire rate, doesn't give you any fire rating at all. So therefore, on this images, you'll see that the steel beams has been covered with a type of a product, what we are calling intermission cement coating or intermission paint. That product can be applied by means of spraying it on, painting it on, or protecting it in the top image with, as I said, with your drywalling, with your drywall drywalling compartmentalized with all around the beam. So there's different ways of doing it, and yeah, but it's only mentioned to areas where there's no protection and where your steel beams are exposed. So in any building, what we normally do, but then it relates to a rational design again, is if we've got a building with sprinkler installation, we normally treat the protection of the steel, and we motivate that to fire department not to protect the steel based on the protection and the installation of your sprinkler systems in buildings. So there's many ways to address it with fire departments and the local authorities in order not to do certain stuff and to do certain installations and certain compliances as well. Fire detection, the long and the short is addressable systems, conventional systems, but as said previously, Ben and Marius will elaborate on that. Just a few little images of smoke detectors, your escape manual call points which we installed at doors, your your sounders and strobe lights indicative of what we use. Where we would install smoke detection, what we do, what the smoke detection functions would be, everything Ben will go into more elaboration of that. Okay, I've previously mentioned the sprinkler systems, automatic sprinkler installations and suppressions, which is a well, how do I note it? Which is a big thing to discuss based on budgets, based on the installation, based on the installation of certain type of equipment, based on the provision of pump sets, water supplies. And then it all relates back to the maximum division areas of the areas on the screen. On the screen, as mentioned, 1,250 versus 2,500 versus 5,000 squares. So that's being applied to your different occupancies in buildings. What can be problematic is the type of your building. If you've got a warehouse of 2,501 squares, you need to provide a sprinkler system. Obviously, there's certain ways to design around the sprinkler system, not to install such system as mentioned. But yeah, that's a discussion as well for another day. Sprinkler systems are normally installed, as I said, in these division areas as mentioned. Furthermore, if your design falls without the requirement of such system, the last thing to remember and the last thing to note is the fact of your stacking height. So if you've got a warehouse with exceeding your stacking heights, that is normally the last requirement and the last method for installing such systems that is being required by the fire department, the building regulations, as well as more and more by the insurance companies as well. To get
sorry, Lieb,
sorry,
just if I may, just a question from my side quickly. And I think I don't know if some of the other people maybe have more knowledge than I do, but I think just to clarify, if you do, let's say for instance in a warehouse, okay, where you housing a lot of stock, etc., you install a sprinkler system now. If that sprinkler system had to activate for some other reason, I'm obviously going to lose all my stock in that entire warehouse.
Okay, let's refer to the American movies that we see each and every night on your TV set. And just to elaborate on that, when a sprinkler system is being activated, it will only activate in the area where the heat is being where the heat is being collected and the heat is being sent to the sprinkler head on top of it. So it doesn't mean that your entire warehouse all the sprinkler heads in your entire warehouse will be activated. The only activation of sprinkler heads is in the area where heat is detected, or where there's a definite fire below that sprinkler head that needs to do the work. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, it does. So just to understand, so what I understand of it is that that's also a manual or a mechanized system. So it's got the glass tube in the middle, and that then activates it. All right.
Yeah, I should have installed a sprinkler head with a different color. The red bulb, as indicated, gives you a certain degree on which the sprinkler head activates. So in the industry, you're getting the red bulb, you're getting a green bulb, you're getting a blue bulb. For instance, this bulb's being indicated to 68 degrees sprinkler heads. If it would be, for instance, a blue bulb, it would have been indicated to 141 degrees. So that's also being indicated and being installed and designed based on your other systems in your building and based on the occupancy that you need to protect in your building as well.
Okay, 100%. Thank you. So in other words, it's not like the movies where
No,
the entire building is drenched in water.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not like that. But yeah, to get back to your sprinkler systems, then furthermore, there's different types of sprinkler systems. Obviously, your normal ordinary hazard, which is being installed in office blocks in low risk areas, and then obviously where product is being stored and product being housed in massive areas and warehouses. Then we'll apply a high hazard sprinkler system, which relates to different requirements: more water, bigger pump sets, bigger pipes, more sprinkler heads, and everything that goes along with it. So, but again, the long and the short is, with different sprinkler heads, you can also achieve different protection measures. And yeah, again, sprinkler systems we can debate the whole day about sprinkler systems, because any sprinkler design is then based on the category of product that's being stored. So if you've got a category 4, which means high hazard, flammable liquids, special risk requirements, versus a category 2 system, which refers to a lower risk, much less density of sprinkler systems, and your pipe sizes is different to your class 4. It's all things that's relating to the type of design and the requirements, which refers at the end of the day to budget costs, with reference to bigger pump sets, bigger tanks, smaller piping, as said. So that's the sprinkler installation, sprinkler designs is much more in depth and difficult than a normal statement by saying, let's install a sprinkler system, if it makes sense. Well, as I said, water supplies, normally in your sprinkler tanks, as per the images, the reason for the 2 sets of tanks, and it's only a comment, and I assume everybody knows it, but yeah, nevertheless, the reason for the 2 tanks is purely for maintenance purposes. So we are striving to protect our building 24/7. So should maintenance needs to be taking place, you'll always omit, or you'll always discontinue your 1 tank, whereby the other tank would be for standby. So that's basically the main reason for your tank sizes. And then obviously the second reason would be for the amount of fire storage water, which can relate up to 1 million liters of storage water and exceeding that as well. Your pump sets, based on the risk that you need to protect, will determine if we go with 2 pump sets or with 1 pump set. And yeah, that forms part of your design capabilities and your designs, and then the product and the building which you are protecting by.
Lieb, if we just quickly go back to the reservoirs. So I'm spending all the money to install all the capacity of water, sprinkler systems, all of these things. If I wanted to generate capacity for back of water, we all have a very good understanding of what the situation is on the municipality side at this current moment with load shedding and so on. So if I wanted to utilize some of this water for operational reasons as well, can I do it? And if I can do it, how do we design around it?
Okay, so I think in easy layman's terms, your question would be: can you mix your fire sprinkler water together with domestic water for daily use?
Yeah, more or less in that. Yeah, in that
Okay,
sense.
yeah, it is possible to do it. The code requires that your sprinkler system needs to be a system on its own. By saying that is, your sprinkler water is not supposed to be shared with anything else. So what we normally do is your tank would be equipped with 2 takeoffs. Takeoffs in layman's terms, 2 holes in your tank. The one hole with a pipe is going for sprinkler water, and your other pipe with a hole, your other hole with a pipe in your tank is going for domestic and your domestic water for daily use. So it will function your same as a ball valve installation. So your fire water would be from level 1 down to level 3 on your tank sets as per your panels installed, and then the rest of your water would be for potable use. So there is a possibility to do it, and the way to do it varies from site to site. But yeah, to answer your question, it is possible to do it, and we have done designs previously for it. Should there be issues, we normally motivate that the fire department as well with calculations on how many water for a sprinkler system and how many water for domestic use. That's normally done by a wet service engineer, because your rates and your flows and your pressures differs from your fire requirements. But yeah, to answer your question, it is possible to do it, and we have done it in the past.
Thank you.
Well, we're getting to the end of my slides now, but probably the most intensive and the most, what is belangrijk in Engels, most important thing that I'm living for is statutory emergency signage. How to get into a building and how to get out of the building. Now, everybody's going to tell me, but why do you want special signs if your building is on fire? Why do you want special signs that tells you to do this and to do that? And why can't I go to a outlet and buy signs over the counter and install those signs for the purpose of indicative purposes of firefighting equipment and fire escape routes? There's one answer. When fire departments rocks up on site this afternoon or tonight, your entire building is pitch black and nothing is visible. As I said previously, smoke clogged, doors are locked, and these signs need to be photoluminescent, which means it's basically glow in the dark. It needs to comply with the SANS code as mentioned, 1186 part 1 and 5, which relates to the type of sign, and then the other code would be the way to install it. And as I said, it's certain method of installation, and that refers to each and every fire related sign needs to be fixed mechanically. So the usage of glue, the usage of double-sided tape is not acceptable and will not be accepted, based on the reason when that sign and the glue is getting hot, due to heat coming from wherever, your sign is going to fall off and you won't see anything inside your building to go out, nor you will have any visibility going from the outside going to the inside. So signage, in my view, is the most important of any fire design, because that refers to safe escape, and that's, in my view, that's the purpose that I'm doing fire designs based on that, in order to get the occupants out of the building, safe escape, so that each and every one of us can have another day to live. That's the long and the short of signage. Furthermore, we've now gone through the entire design and fire requirements and what we need to install and how we need to do it and everything. But obviously what we install and how we install it and what we install for what reason needs to be approved, and it needs to be submitted to the local authority, and everybody needs to provide their signatures on it for the long and the short of what it might mean. At the end of the day, each and every building needs to be designed properly and needs to be submitted to the local authority. Based on the screenshot as shown, there's basically two regulations. It says A2 plans and particulars to be furnished. That means you need to submit drawings to council. You need to provide them with a site plan, with a fire installation drawing, and with a layout drawings. Those are the drawings that the local authority requires, and those are the layouts that's been contemplated and indicated, and it's mandatory in the code of practice as noted. In the screenshot below, indicated as item number 2, it says, and it relates to that a competent person needs to be appointed in order to do a fire design, and that's why the competent person has been introduced into the code of practice, as previously mentioned by Mr. Du Plessis. And that's also a requirement to be registered with an entity. In this case, I'm registered with EXA, so a competent person will fall under the auspices of EXA, whereby we need to adhere to certain regulations, certain components of your fire designs, therefore being noted as a competent person to do my work properly. The next slide is only indicative of what I said to you now, to you guys now. Right hand top, you'll see a screenshot saying approved. This is approved by fire department to the image on its left with the yellow dots on it. That's your normal layout. Site plan indicative of what's being installed, fire hydrant, hose rules, fire water storage pumps and storage water and pumps. On the image below is a tenant fit out, which we submitted to fire department, which the fire department approved on that, and that's basically saying internal layout, and it says what is being approved and being approved by the fire department as noted. On the left image on the left hand side, it says approved with the letters in blue, stating rational fire design report. That was a typical rational design in which we referred to escape routes, which was motivated to the NFPA codes of standards. But yeah, as said, this is only the different ways and the different images and some of the documents that we've submitted to council based on approval purposes. And then obviously at the end of the day, our goal in submitting everything to all the parties as mentioned, we need a fire clearance certificate at the end of the day. If we haven't got a fire clearance certificate, then it strictly means that the building is not compliant and your building does not suffice, or it doesn't relate to all the regulations as contemplated in code of practice. What normally happens is the fire department, we do the designs, we submit to council, they sign it off, we sign it off. We are inviting the local authority to the site. We've got the normal site inspections together with all the local authorities and people that needs to address their issues on the installations. Furthermore, we've got communication between them and commissioning of all fire systems. And based on that, if everybody is happy, if you look on the subject, it says a fire compliance inspection at mentioned with all the occupancies, and that's your fire clearance certificate, which is obviously the goal that everybody strives to in order to have a legal and compliant building. Okay, I hope it was interesting. As I said, we can discuss this for days and days and days and everything that goes along with it. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed my presentation. Thank you for your time, Gerard. Thanks for the opportunity. Any questions from anybody?
Thank you, Luke. Yeah, I think we can open the floor. We've got about a 15-minute window on the agenda. So I don't know if there are any questions or contributions. I think maybe just quickly from my side, Lieb. So if I understand you correctly, literally each and every building that we have in our businesses must have a fire clearance certificate.
Yes, how the council procedures work is the following. A fire design needs to be submitted, and the fire design needs to be issued to someone. In this case, the fire design will go to the fire department, whereby plans would be submitted to building control. Building control meaning you'll have to submit. Let's take Pretoria Council as an example. A building file needs to be opened with all the drawings attached to the building, applicable to the building, for approval, and then that whole file will be approved and signed off by all the different departments of the council, meaning or referring to traffic, health, fire department, electricity, and. And to answer your question, at the end of the day, we are all striving to have a fire clearance certificate, but you as the client needs to obtain an occupancy certificate. An occupancy certificate will only be issued by means when everything below the requirements in order to obtain an occupancy certificate has been met. So whenever if you're not in the position of a fire clearance certificate, you will never obtain an occupancy certificate. And that's the big thing regarding the requirements and everything that is required and set out as in the code of practice.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Lieb. Wessel, I see your hand is raised.
Apologies, you've broken up a little bit.
No, I was just saying Wessel's hand's raised, so if he's got a question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. It's a very interesting presentation. So we have about 12 of our Agbiz Grain members. We're a desk at Agbiz, and Annelien do the administration for us. And thank you, Annelien. But what I want to ask is, from a storage operator's point of view, we usually have this discussion that in terms of our infrastructure and in terms of the safety and health requirements for industry in general, we may have to comply with more, how do you call that? Strenger? What is strenger in English?
Stringent.
More stringent requirements. The other day, I just want to share this. We walked through a silo at one of Afgri's silos, one of our member silos, and we had a French delegation visiting us. And I was walking beside this French delegation, and they are also in storage involved in France. And the one guy was taking his finger, and as he was walking, he was checking if there's any dust, almost the stuff, but dust on a little, what do you call it, a crevice or on the wall. And when you look at his finger, he said, wow, but you guys are managing these silos with military precision. And I assume he was referring to the French Legion. So I was very proud at that moment to know that our silos in South Africa is managed with all the equipment and so clean, dust free. And that was something great for me. So I really think there's the majority, as I see, of the people on this call is from the insurance companies and also from the Moses Agbiz Grain members. And I would like to know from you, is there anything that you would like to add specifically in terms of your experience within the storage, grain handling and storage sector that we may have to take note of? Because on the one hand, you have to have the latest you have to have sufficient equipment in place to check off that or to minimize the risk. And on the other hand, you also need to make sure that your industry is able to insure or is insurable. I don't know if that's the right English word, but must be insurable, and you would like to have those premiums as low as possible. So this presentation today is very, very relevant in terms of premiums, and I would like to maybe from our members and from you and maybe from our colleagues in the insurance industry, just maybe to elaborate a little bit on that, because I believe that the storage sector may be one of the most compliant sectors in terms of these type of hazards in terms of safety and health. Thank you.
Thank you, Wessel. I think I'm going to give Stiffy opportunity first and then Richard.
Yes, thank you. I think from an insurance perspective, as I said, risk management is one of the things that's highlighted, especially in recent times, that a lot of these people comply when people do visit, but afterwards it goes into neglect. And I think risk managers being appointed, especially in the larger sector where it's possible to maintain these standards, is imperative for the guys to show the insurance that they are doing their part to protect the risk as well, to take control of that risk and manage it properly according to what the original fire designs and everything that needs to be in place. I've also seen some risks where we actually had to walk away from it because it wasn't maintained. The risk management principles wasn't followed. The regulations weren't followed. It was implemented at the initial stage when it was built and it was running well, and then it just goes into disregard. So I think in that way, where people can appoint a risk manager to manage that for them, it will go a long way, especially in the insurance industry, to be able to negotiate with reinsurers premiums that can be acceptable outside in the market, because we are also have to explain fires and claims to the reinsurers and why it wasn't managed at the initial stage and continuously managed. So I think from that perspective, for me, it's imperative that risk management be implemented in a way that this risk will stay acceptable, and as you state, go to the premium that's the lowest that can be afforded or can be provided to the industry.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. I fully agree, and I think that's where a very strong component comes in regarding self-auditing on a very frequent and regular basis, is to ensure that we maintain those standards. So thank you for that. Richard, your hand was raised. I don't know if you...
Yeah, hi, thanks. Good morning, everyone. I'm glad the question was raised because I'm actually obviously one of the risk surveyors who goes out. I've done quite a few of the silos. Interesting to see that the French noted that they're checking the level of the organic dust buildup within a silo, because obviously we know in Afrikaans what the stofontploffing is, and that's one of the biggest risks that you have within a silo environment. As far as, like Sophie was saying, with regards to risk management is concerned, we do apply risk reduction requirements to them, and obviously on-site talking. A lot of the guys do have very active risk management, and then, as we have seen, there's some that are quite horrendous. I think the international standard for organic dust layer build-up on any static surface within a silo is 3 millimeters, no more than that. And most of the guys will do what they classify as a blowdown after when they do with their housekeeping. So they have to have an IP65 rated blower. They usually operate petrol blowers in there to make sure we don't have any spark while they're blowing down and cleaning out that dust. It's key for them. That's probably their highest and biggest risk with regards to any explosion. I have witnessed it before. I've seen what it can do. It's not a pretty sight. And then more intensive looking at the actual equipment installed there with regards to your cable terminations, are your light fittings IP65 rated? Is everything spark proof? So there's a lot that goes into silos, and yes, some of them are very, very good, and some of them are not so good, and that's where we end up with accidents. But yeah, we do apply triple R's to that, or risk reduction requirements.
Thank you for that, Richard. Thank you for that. Carl.
Excuse my vraag gaan na jou tabel toe op nummer 16, die fire protection design measures. Stof, soos ons nou in die vorige twee sprekers ook gepraat het, onder watter klas sal die stof dan val? Onder papier en hout, of onder watter klas sal hy val?
Ekskuus, dis Kaal, nee.
Ja,
Ek sal hom klassifiseer onder jou klas A, want ek meen daai stofontploffing is maar dieselfde. Ek meen of jy 'n stukkie houtsaagsels bymekaar gooi en of jy jou stofontploffing het of jy 'n stukkie papier bymekaar het. As hy brand, gaan hy brand, en hy gaan vinnig brand en hy gaan aanhoudend brand. So ek sou sê klas A, sodat jy hom dadelik kan blus met 'n chemiese produk wat dan obviously jou brand smoor en die suurstof verwyder.
Net solank dit nie die stof in suspensie bring nie.
Ja, nee, ek hoor wat jy sê. Ja, maar om dit op die einde van die dag gaan dit om die suurstof, om enige been van die driehoek van ontbranding weg te vat en dan jou, so te sê, jou brand te blus. Maar ek hoor wat jy sê, en obviously is daar baie ander aspek om in aanmerking te neem, gebaseer op julle produk en op julle geboue en alles ook.
Okay, thank you for that. Wessel, I see your hand is raised. We've got another minute, and then I think we take a quick break before we continue on Ben and Marius' side. Yes, Wessel.
Yeah, thank you for the answer from that questions also, and also for Carl's question. Unfortunately, I have to leave this meeting, and I really would like to stay on. But in terms of that class A and that table, the combustible materials, for instance, paper and wood, we have also noted in the frequency of occurrences of gas explosions that paper and wood in the wood industry, that frequency is significantly higher than in the grain oil, well, especially grain storage, grain oilseed storage. So I would love to see a class A minus there, because our risks is in the storage sector is much less than where you have a case where you need to process that maize and sunflower seed and things into a product. And I think I'm of the opinion that we are at a lower risk in terms of that. And where there's horrendous cases, maybe we need to have a look into that. And as Agbiz Grain, just have a look where maybe that hotspots are. So the insurance industry are very welcome to engage with us on that. And I would like to see that we take the discussion further, because it's very positive for me. And thank you, Gerard, also for hosting this for us. it's a great event. Thank you.
Much appreciated. Yeah, so just the last comment from my side, Wessel, you're quite right. I think our previous workshop was relating the dust explosions and the hazardous classification zoning, and I think yeah, if you guys want to, please refer back to that workshop as well. I think there was a wealth of information that was shared there with us. Is there anybody with a last comment or question maybe before we take a break? As the agenda we've got a 15-minute break till about past, which is obviously 14 minutes now. But yeah, then we'll commence at past. Ben, I see your hand is raised.
Thank you, Gerard. Just a quick comment from my side. Being the boots on the ground, currently our company, we do a lot of silos in the country, hundreds of them, you know, and the main thing that we see is that there's really an effort from the silo side, from the co-op side, to maintain and to comply, you know, as much as possible. There's a drive from all the co-ops we're involved in regards to get these silos as far as possible compliant in regards to the handheld equipment. You know, most of the silos are excluded, or they are, you know, distributed where there's not a lot of natural water or taps, or you know, they have to rely on either boreholes or, you know, JoJo tanks, and that's a big issue. We would recommend, you know, to have water and hose reels all over the silos, but that's a big issue due to the water restraint and constraint that most of the silos experience currently. But there's a big drive from the co-op side to comply. I mean, there's even some of the co-ops that currently, due to the dust detection systems, are extremely difficult. You know, that's one of the biggest enemies of a detection system is dust. And we went with a manual call point system where there's, you know, activation by people to prevent, you know, and to warn other people of, you know, in instances where there's a fire, and this can lead to prevention of a bigger problem later on. So there's a big drive in the industry to try and rectify and to comply as much as possible. But yeah, there's still work to be done. But I can see from our client side that there's really effort to try and comply.
Thank you very much for that, Ben. All right, Wessel, I see your hand is raised. I think that's the last one I'm going to allow. Then we quickly take our break till past.
Yeah, Jared, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I don't want to miss this question. Maybe just a question to the insurance colleagues on the call. What is your perception in terms of the increase in risk due to load shedding? We have diesel generators installed. It should be covered. But is there a perception about the insurance industry that the risk increased in terms of this, or is it still seen as normal as previously? Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone specific that'd like to just address that question? Richard?
Okay, thanks. With regard to load shedding, obviously we have been starting to encounter some issues with regards to the power coming back on under voltage, causing damage, as well as obviously your over voltage that comes in. The generators are designed to generally work on the principle of it's needed when we have power failures. It's exceptional when you talk about having consistent load shedding, stop, start, stop, start. So key to the problem is maintenance and servicing of those generators. Are they actually designed to run at such excessive amounts of time? And then with the lack of maintenance and lack of servicing and regular service intervals, which would obviously become more frequent, you can experience generator explosions. So it is an issue across every industry, and yes, it will apply to silos, obviously in the grain industry as well. And then obviously we start asking for more surge protection as such. But yeah, it is an issue, and until the grid stabilizes, we're still going to continue with it. So maintenance is key, servicing is key.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very
Thank
much,
you.
Richard. Sorry, guys. I just want to give everyone a decent break before we continue with Bendem's presentation. I think we can maybe allow for a bit more of a broader discussion afterwards. Then yeah, the people that want to participate and stay on may do so. But let's keep to the agenda. Thank you very much. We'll then commence at 10:30 again. Thank you very much.